Historically speaking, the wage and benefits package Local 103 members earn today truly is remarkable. Day to day, especially for the youngest in our organization, not much thought is put to it all. But as time moves on, as it does for everyone, there will come a day when all the years of hard work will pay off. Not that long ago, however, less than one generation of workers back, to be exact, the mere idea of a pension or health benefit was simply unbelievable. To shed a little light on how things used to be, periodically we'll bring you these stories of the past in a segment called Historical Perspectives.
I became a member of Local 103 out of high school. Graduated high school, worked summer program, and that year I was initiated into Local 103 as a apprentice wireman. That was November of 1956. Both myself and my brother became active in it prior to and almost immediately after joining it. It was, you could say, in the blood, I don't know, but we early on, became officers. All of my best friends today, I have friends that I grew up with that I still see, but most of my best friends were members of Local 103. My father's friends, as I can recall, outside of family, were all members of Local 103. The early days was we would accompany my father for a day at one of the jobs, and we'd meet the guys. It was a treat. I can remember a few of them were vets who had just returned, World War II people. You got the young guy who was the vet, you got the kind of middle of the road guy, maybe where my father was, and then you got the old timer who was probably the World War I guy or even beyond that. In them days, people worked a lot longer than they do today. The names, the movers and the shakers. Much of what we're going to talk about in this program were people that I actually kind of knew before I even met them because of the discussions that were going on at my home and in discussions that we were having over the dinner table. And you almost could kind of put them in an index. There seems to be a void between the early days of when the local was chartered, 1900, up till the 30s, and of course you went through the Depression. I'm sure that during them times it was, as I had heard as a kid, that, times were tough, jobs were tough to come by. And then I think what happened was that it seems in the 30s, is when things started to break out, And I think there was progress made in the 30s up until the early 40s. And then, of course, as I recall, that in 1939, I remember seeing later on in life headlines of Germany marching on Poland, and of course then World War II and the attack here in the United States. The only thing that was happening within the IBEW, brotherhood-wise, people taking care of people, was a death benefit. It seemed that during that time it was just, give the guy a decent burial, come up with some money. Somebody would get up at the microphone and would indicate, and that was kind of, when you look at it, of the unfairness of it, there was probably hundreds of cases, but unless you had somebody plead your case on the floor of the union that you were hurting or you needed some assistance, and the president would authorize the passing of the hat, and it would be passed up and down the aisles, and then of course the collection of the money would be given to the president on a Saturday. My father would take the money that was given, would go out and buy different sundries and whatnot for people, members who were in old age homes. He would get up and go in, and he knew most of them, and would give them the items that they were in need of in them homes. The earliest that I can find, there was a 1 cent contribution to a sick and health benefit, 1 cent an hour. That was in 1950. First time there's any mention of any benefits in a collective bargaining agreement. If you were going to have the contractors that we worked for deduct money or contribute money, it had to be done through the process of the collective bargaining agreement. dues to the local union was collected through the financial secretary. Didn't need authorization of an employer to do that. We just did that on our own, which the Constitution of the IBEW and so on, some bylaws allowed us to do that. But as far as benefits and contributions, it's unheard of. I recall one of the first major jobs that I worked on was the Domino Sugar plant. They were moving from Boston, which they had a plant right down on the river, and they were moving over to Charlestown. At that time, I was living at home, and my duty in the morning was to start, I think, about 7 o'clock, because the working hours in them days was 8 to 4:30. And I probably got up about 7 o'clock, and I had to pick up 3 old-timers and bring them to work. And I had to wait for them after work and bring them home. And all 3 of them were well in excess of 70 years of age, but unable to retire. Lived in rented apartments, didn't own a vehicle, and could not pension themselves. A local union such as 103, with a fairly decent membership, the light had to go on and said, you know, we can do better than this. You know, we can provide for local 103 members a pension. From 1950 to 56, 57, 58, during that short period of time, the amount of work that was done to establish these funds was remarkable. There was this trust between the union and the employer in order to make this whole thing work. If it was not for that happening, these funds wouldn't exist. They just wouldn't have been there, you know. We say that there's no heroes in Local 103. We don't go that route. Even though them officers were smart people, dedicated people, the membership was as smart and as dedicated, because you can promote whatever it is you want to promote or whatever you think is what's right for this local union. Without majority rule and without educating that membership and explaining to that membership the importance of having a health plan, a pension plan, a deferred income plan, then it don't go anywhere. The lifeblood of the local union is organizing and hours of work. The health and welfare, hours of work. Pension, hours of work. Your own individual account and deferred income, hours of work. JATC, hours of work. The funding of the local union, hours of work. Without us maintaining and keeping our market share, this could all go away. Without being able to have had the ability to earn a decent wage where I could purchase a home, educate my kids, have good health care for my family, have good health care for myself, have a great pension, be able to pretty much do financially whatever it is that I want to do. It's an amazing journey that we've really gone through in the history of this local union. And a lot of people, and of course the members, have to be credited with the fact that over the years we always did the right thing, say, and took care of the brothers and sisters in the local.
Local 103, IBEW, for the past 100 years and the next.